You've been lied to, not once, not twice, but slowly, quietly, over years. You were told that time takes everything, that strength fades, that passion dries up, that once a man carries too many winters in his bones, the world stops seeing him. They never said it loudly. They said it through silence, through jokes, through the way conversations stopped asking your opinion, through the way the world started rushing past you, as if you were already gone. But listen to me now. Lean in, because what I'm about to say may be the most dangerous truth you've heard in your entire life. You are not fading. You are concentrating. You are not losing power. You are refining it. Fire doesn't disappear with age. It learns control. It stops burning randomly and
starts burning with purpose. And that terrifies a world built on noise. They want you distracted. They want you nostalgic. They want you tired enough to sit down quietly and stay there. But something inside you knows better. You feel it late at night, in the silence, when the house is still and the world isn't watching. That feeling isn't regret. It's unfinished business. Because a man's strength was never meant to peak early. It was meant to mature, to deepen, to become undeniable. When you were young, you were fast, but reckless. When you were young, you were hungry, but unfocused. Now you see patterns. Now you understand consequences. Now you know exactly what matters and what doesn't. That isn't weakness. That's leverage. A man who no longer needs applause becomes dangerous. A man who doesn't chase validation cannot be controlled. You've seen enough lies to recognize truth instantly. You've lost enough to understand value. You've been tested enough to know who you are when everything burns. And yet, somewhere along the way, you were told to slow down, to soften, to step aside. No, that message was never meant for men like you. Look at your hands. They carry history. Every line tells a story of effort, of failure, of survival. Those gray strands in your hair, they're not decay. They're proof. Proof that you endured what broke others. Proof that you stayed standing when quitting would have been easier. You don't need to announce your strength anymore. You wear it. Your presence speaks before your mouth ever opens. Your silence carries more authority than a younger man's shouting. You've learned that respect isn't demanded. It's felt. And when you walk into a room grounded, steady, unhurried, people notice, even if they don't know why, because discipline leaves a scent, and men like you carry it quietly. You no longer move for vanity. You move for command. Every step intentional. Every action deliberate. You understand now that the body isn't about display. It's about readiness. A strong older man doesn't intimidate by size. He commands by presence. He doesn't rush. He doesn't fidget. He doesn't explain himself endlessly. He stands, and the world adjusts. You've also learned something else, something painful. Not everyone deserves access to you. Your circle didn't shrink because you failed. It shrank because your standards rose. You stopped tolerating empty talk. You stopped pretending shallow connections were enough. What you crave now isn't noise. It's brotherhood. Men who speak with weight. Men who sharpen you instead of draining you. Men who understand that strength isn't bravado. It's consistency. And even now, you are not finished building. A man without a mission slowly dies, no matter his age. But a man with purpose stays young forever. You weren't meant to retreat. You were meant to redirect. Everything you've learned, every scar, every hard lesson, they were never just for you. They were preparation. And now comes the quiet phase of power. The phase where you stop talking and start demonstrating. Where your actions become so consistent that explanations feel unnecessary. You listen more. You observe longer. You respond slower but stronger. And when you love now, you don't beg. You don't chase chaos. You choose peace, depth, clarity. You've learned the difference between desire and destruction. Time has become sharper too, more precious. You no longer waste it proving yourself to people who don't matter. You invest it where it multiplies. And when people doubt you, you don't argue. You let silence do the work. Because silence backed by action is lethal. You've outgrown ego. Now you're building legacy, not for applause, but for impact. And if no one has told you this lately, hear it now. You are not done. You are not invisible. You are not irrelevant. You are refined fire, a quiet storm. And the world doesn't need more noise. It needs men who've been through hell and came back carrying wisdom instead of bitterness. Stand tall. Walk forward. Not chasing the past, but commanding the present. Because your strongest chapter is not behind you. It is unfolding right now. There comes a moment in a man's life when he realizes he has survived things that once felt unsurvivable. Moments that should have broken him. Losses that hollowed his chest, betrayals that taught him silence.
And yet, he's still here. Not untouched, not unchanged, but standing. That's when a man begins to understand something sacred. Pain was never punishment. It was training. Every disappointment sharpened your discernment. Every failure stripped illusion from ambition. Every heartbreak burned weakness out of love. You didn't just age, you were forged. You see it now when you watch younger men rush forward, chasing approval, chasing attention, chasing speed without direction. You remember that version of yourself, the hunger, the restlessness, the belief that louder meant stronger. But you know better now. Strength isn't volume, it's gravity. The strongest man in the room rarely speaks first. He waits. He listens. He observes patterns others miss. Because power no longer excites him. It centers him. You've learned restraint isn't weakness. It's mastery. When anger rises, you breathe. When ego flares, you smile. When chaos invites you in, you decline. That calm, it wasn't given to you. You earned it. And people feel it when they're near you. They don't know why they trust you. They don't know why your words land heavier. They don't know why your silence feels loud. But it does. Because you are no longer trying to be seen. You are rooted. You don't chase moments anymore. You create environments. You understand now that masculinity isn't aggression. It's containment. A river isn't powerful because it floods. It's powerful because it flows where it chooses. And you've learned how to choose. You choose your battles. You choose your words. You choose your people. And perhaps most importantly, you choose yourself. There was a time you sacrificed your peace to be liked. A time you bent to avoid conflict. A time you tolerated disrespect to keep the peace. Not anymore. Now you understand. Peace that costs your dignity is too expensive. So you walk away when needed. You say no without explanation. You stop negotiating with people who don't hear you. And in that refusal, you reclaim power. This is where many men misunderstand aging. They think it's about losing options. But you know the truth. It's about clarity. You no longer want everything. You want what aligns. And alignment is rare. That's why you guard your energy now. Why you protect your mornings. Why you treat your time like currency. You don't waste hours scrolling through other people's lives. You build your own. You understand that comfort is seductive, and stagnation wears the mask of rest. So you keep moving, not frantically, not desperately, but deliberately. You stretch your body not to impress, but to remain capable. You train not to dominate others, but to command yourself. Because self-command is the foundation of respect. And when you walk tall.
not from pride, but from alignment. Your spine carries truth now. And when it comes to love, you no longer confuse intensity with intimacy. You've learned that chaos isn't passion, it's imbalance. So you choose differently. You love with presence, with patience, with boundaries. You give affection freely, but you don't abandon yourself to keep someone close. That alone makes you rare, because most men never learn that lesson. They age, but they don't mature. You did. And that maturity doesn't make you dull. It makes you dangerous. Dangerous because you're no longer reactive. Dangerous because you're no longer predictable. Dangerous because you act from clarity, not emotion. And the world doesn't know what to do with a man like that. So it tries to label you. Outdated. Out of touch. Too old to matter. Let them. A man who lives in alignment doesn't need permission. You've reached the stage where ego steps aside and legacy steps forward. You begin to think beyond yourself, beyond comfort, beyond applause. You. Think about what remains when you're gone. The lessons. The standards, the example. You realize something profound. Your real wealth isn't what you own, it's what you pass on. And suddenly, everything matters differently. The way you speak to younger men, the way you treat women, the way you handle pressure. You are always teaching now, even when you don't speak. That's the weight of being a man who has lived. And if there's one truth that anchors you, it's this: you are not running out of time. You are running into purpose. And the most powerful thing you can do now is refuse to fade quietly. There will be a night when everything goes quiet. No noise, no demands, no one asking you to be anything for anyone. Just you, and the weight of your life sitting beside you. You'll think about the roads you didn't take, the words you never said, the moments you wish you could revisit one more time. And for a brief second, a dangerous thought may appear. Was it enough? That question hits deeper than any failure, because it's not about success. It's about meaning. And in that silence, something inside you will answer. Not loudly, not confidently, but truthfully. You survived. You endured. You kept going when quitting would have been easier. And that alone means something. You start remembering the moments no one applauded. The nights you stayed strong so others could sleep peacefully. The sacrifices that never made headlines. The times you swallowed pride to protect love. The times you stood alone because walking away was the right thing. No one celebrated those moments, but they shaped you. They carved depth into your soul. And then you realize something devastatingly beautiful. You were never meant to be loud. You were meant to be solid. Like the mountain that doesn't move, but determines the direction of the river. You see it now. Your life wasn't about collecting wins. It was about becoming someone others could lean on. Someone who didn't collapse when pressure arrived. Someone who stayed human when the world became cruel. You began to understand that masculinity isn't dominance. It's responsibility. It's carrying weight without complaint. It's choosing integrity when shortcuts are available. And maybe you weren't perfect. Maybe you failed people. Maybe you failed yourself at times. But here's the truth no one tells you. A good man isn't one who never fails. He's one who doesn't quit becoming better. And you never quit. That's why you're still here. Not to relive the past. Not to mourn what's gone. But to finish strong. Because the later chapters of a man's life are not about speed. They're about direction. And yours is clear now. To stand as an example, to pass on wisdom without bitterness, to lead without ego, to show younger men that strength doesn't rot with age, it ripens. You are living proof. And one day, someone will watch how you move. How you speak calmly under pressure. How you don't chase attention. How you walk away from chaos. And they won't say it out loud, but they'll think it. That's the kind of man I want to become. That is the payoff. Not fame, not applause. Impact. A life that quietly gave others permission to be stronger. And when your final silence eventually arrives, it won't be empty. It will be full of meaning. Because you didn't disappear. You remained. You didn't fade. You anchored. So stand up tomorrow, not as a man chasing relevance, but as a man who is relevance. The world doesn't need you to be louder. It needs you to be you. Steady, grounded, unshakable. And if this was the moment you needed to hear it, let this be the line that stays with you. You were never falling behind. You were becoming the foundation.